Hello, and welcome back to my other mother's basement. Oh no, my mother's other basement. Does it dawn on the people that accuse me of living in my mother's basement that people are paying me to do this? Does it dawn on you? Do you look at the stats? Do you think maybe he doesn't? Anyway, it floors me, the mother's basement thing. Yeah, anyway, so live from my mother's other basement. By the way, we're also filthy rich too, so that's another reason all the haters can hate. We're not quite poor, but anyway. This is a short one. Hello, Mr. Clary. What is your opinion on the future of American manufacturing, especially in the oil and gas industry? Thanks, Mike. Okay, well, let's separate these two. Because when you say oil and gas, that makes it political, and that's separate from manufacturing. The future of the American manufacturing industry is shit. If you have looked at it as a relative percentage of GDP or total economy, it's been going downhill. And we've done that in part by outsourcing everything to China, which a lot of people hate, and I understand because that costs jobs. But it also makes things incredibly cheap. You know, what is it? An iPhone would cost $1,200 or something like that. And the reason for that, long ago, this is going back to the 90s, so providing an economics lesson. Trade is great. When you trade, you get higher standards of living. Not only because other countries can make things cheaper, but they can also make them better. For example, compare Hershey's chocolate, like the most gaggy... Hershey's chocolate is just vomit that's been colored and mixed up and grinded to look like chocolate. It's vomit bars is all Hershey's is. Now compare that to Swiss chocolate. What would the world be without Swiss chocolate? Right? Another thing, one thing we do manufacture in the United States, we make great fighter planes. Well, we used to, now we're bedraggling it. We make great movies. No country in the world has better movies than the United States. All right? Japan, they make great cars. Russia, they make great whiskey or vodka. Ireland, they make great whiskey. You want to talk about true diversity, you want to try to make a compelling argument for true diversity, think of all the different great things these different countries make. Now imagine a world without them, or a world where everyone makes them but we're not allowed to trade. So you could see where you would like to outsource some things to different countries that are better than we are making it, but there's always a consequence and a drawback, and that is you outsource your entire manufacturing base. Which is in part the problem that we have done with China, but also where we really have screwed the pooch on this one is we agreed to that where China has a fixed exchange rate. Because what ends up happening is if they keep it artificially low, which they have, that makes sure their labor is cheaper. What ends up happening is as a country grows and develops and even booms like China has, its currency also then becomes more valuable. You say, hey, that's not just pieces of paper floating around. You can buy some really good stuff with that piece of paper. So what would happen, in theory, is the value of the Chinese currency, which is the yuan, goes up relative to the US dollar. Now it goes up, guess what? That means Chinese labor is more expensive, so then by comparison, American labor would become more competitive. The outsourcing of jobs would start because it becomes cheaper to make our own stuff here because the price of Chinese currency and their labor via the currency has gone up as well. So that natural balance always in the past, as long as you have free trade, that's why free trade is so important. It's not like influenced or intervened through the government. But since China's kept an artificially low fixed exchange rate, we are really fucking over our manufacturing base. And so that is why, and I don't see anyone change that, because everyone likes having cheap shit. And everyone hates Walmart because, oh, look, they pay everyone so little. But everyone loves Walmart because, hey, it doesn't matter how little they pay them. They've just lowered, Walmart in real terms, I'd estimate, has lowered costs of everyday things by about 30 to 35%. You can get you can get stuff at Walmart brand new cheaper than you can at Goodwill. I was looking at picture frames. I'm like, they charge more, or they charge less at Walmart. So that being aside, I think we have such stupid and spectacularly uneducated people in this country about economics that what I just told you there about China and the exchange rates and how labor works and the outsourcing, that's more economic brilliance than they're ever going to hear in their entire lives because they're too freaking busy jerking off to the Kardashian twins or something like that. So it is ultimately the American people that have to put in the right politicians that'll make the right choices, and they're just not going to do that. They're too freaking stupid. Now, the oil and gas industry is different because Oil and gas are valuable commodities, and they're also fungible, which means you can, well, how can I put it? Let's say we don't even use the oil here, it's going to be used somewhere else. And we don't even have to, let's say we make a barrel of oil in the Bakken oil field, and we keep it here in the United States. We don't let it go out overseas. So, well, that would have an effect on the international price of oil. No, it wouldn't. Because we're going to use that oil, which means it's going to be the exactly 1 barrel less of oil from the global market we're going to be taking. So it is transferable, I guess that's, in other words, as long as it's coming out of the ground and it's being used somewhere, it doesn't matter where it's being used, it's a transferable commodity. So, because gas and oil are like that, they're commodities. And they're used globally, no matter how much fucking bullshit they say about going green. The world runs on oil and gas. And that means that industry will be relatively protected by international market forces, specifically demand for oil and gas. We even have it here, demand for oil and gas in the United States. So again, no matter how green people say it, we still need it to run pretty much everything. So that provides it a little bit of protection. Now, where you got to worry about it, though, especially in oil, gas, and mining is a lot like this too. You got to be willing to go overseas to really make the money. The perfect example, or the epitome example of this, is the Keystone XL pipeline that the environmentalists and the socialists and the American haters just don't want to go through. And it's not even because of environmental concerns. They'll say it's because of environmental concerns, but they do not want to. Well, it's for also political purposes. They don't want to upset their environmental Nazi base so they can keep getting that. And two, they really just don't like America, and they don't want the United States to succeed. I guarantee it angers them that we are now a net oil exporter. They hate the Bakken field. And talk to any environmentalist. Talk to any leftist that's fracking. It's like, okay, explain fracking. Why is it bad? 95% of them can't explain what fracking is, let alone why it's bad. Anyway, as much as the United States current people in office and the people are brainwashed to hate big oil and gas, carbon dioxide, global warming, much as they hate that, we still need it, so you're still relatively protected here. Still, there's a hostile environment to those industries here. But it's fungible. I should know this word because I'm an economist. Fungible. I keep thinking fungus for some reason. It's fungible. That doesn't mean the demand isn't there for overseas. So you can go to, Halliburton went to Abu Dhabi. Your engineering skills would definitely be demanded by the various mining and engineering firms. Heck, the South Dakota School of Mines, they got a higher starting salary on average than Harvard graduates. You can go work for an oil platform, you can work for Pemex, you can work for all these different companies and countries out there. Because they do want to get the oil. And China definitely wants the oil, and India wants the oil, and all these countries that are growing, they want the oil. And they'll pay to get it. Heck, Africa's a great place right now. I think the Chinese are even trying to explore a lot out there. The larger point is that majoring in things like petroleum engineering, going into those fields, learning chemistry, chemical engineering, will not only get you a good job here, it'll pretty much guarantee you employment and job security overseas. So that's my take. Anything that could be made or assembled, that's going to be outsourced to India, China, wherever else. In part because we're too damn lazy, also in part because of artificial exchange rates. But oil and gas, that's different. That will always have a future. That will always have a life. You may get a little bit of flack and have to run into some additional political hurdles when you work in that industry in the United States. Otherwise, yeah, definitely a good field to consider. So that's all we got. Toodles.